Anybody
I guess I
watching,
was
we'd
muted.
love to have you. And I'll grab the link for the trip and add it into the video description now, at least on I'll have it there on my channel, or I'll share it in the chat.
Yeah, if you want to put it in the private chat, then I can put it up. And no worries, Zertus. Welcome, Andreas. And we just went live on the Andreas Zertus channel as well. For those just joining in, we have Michael Collins, Wandering Wolf Travels. And if you want to travel with Mike, you can go to Peru and check out Saskatchewan and what were all the other sites? One more time, the third time the chat.
Sacsayhuaman, Ollantaytambo, the Pisca ruins, Coricancha. There's several more. I mean, we're just the trip is loaded with incredible ancient megalithic sites. Yeah, it's a good one.
I'm sad that I don't think I'll be able to make that one this year unless let's all pray, put the energy into the universe that BurnEye gets his settlements before October so he can join Wandering Wolf in Peru.
That would be so dope, man.
Right? Hopefully. We will see, if not this year, next year, and we'll have to do a live stream with you when you're out there one day when if you're able to get the bandwidth.
Well, the cool thing is about being there in Peru is most of these sites are like basically in Cusco. So you actually have phone signal everywhere you go. I don't know how it is up at Machu Picchu or Ollantaytambo, but I know that there are several sites in Cusco where that would be possible, which is pretty cool.
Then yes, we are gonna have to do that. All right, so let's go through. So at Sage Wall, we're gonna try to make that happen this year and get me there and many more. And that leads me into a part that I wanted to show. Get rid of them and just change the background up a little so we know that we're going into the second part here of what I've found in southern Alberta and the geoglyphs of the Medicine Hat Badland Guardians. For those that have not seen this site before, this is the Faram Foundation, and Arthur Faram is discoverer or rediscoverer of geoglyphology and geoglyphs, and they're these ancient giant earthenworks that plot out and map to all the other ancient earthenwork and sacred sites of the world, including most of the pyramids, or the major pyramid sites, including the Egyptian Giza pyramids, the Bosnian pyramids, both their walls, as well as the Indonesian pyramids as well. All of the angles of their sides actually plot out to other sites around the world, and that's shown in Arthur Faram's work. And that is how he discovered the Medicine Hat Badland Guardians. This one, Mayan with the feathered serpent headdress here. You can see another figure across, I believe, but that he found from, I believe it was Teotihuacan, the Mexican city pyramids, one of the geoglyphs there, as well as one at, I believe, Karnak in Egypt, pointed him to this site where he found these faces. This one clearly the indigenous Native Plains warrior figure. Looks like another potential face up here, and then the Olmec face over here as well. Potentially another one right there, but the more important point of them uh, is the geoglyph sites. These ones here, the earthenworks where the numbers are, and where Arthur Faram has found these lines that when you plot out the lengths of them and their angles, that they plot out to the radials of all of these specific sites around the world, such as Hawaii, the tip of the Baja Coast, I believe there, western tip of Ireland, Cape Cod, Mexico City, Baja California, Grand Canyon, Hawaiian Islands, in these geoglyph radials right here from the Medicine Hat Badland Guardians. And then some more that he found at geoglyph site there. Plot out to Cairo, Egypt, tip of Britannia, France, southern tip of Ireland, tip of Cape Romaine, South Carolina, Charleston Bay is Tacahuit volcano, Mexico City, southern tip of Baja California, Mexico, and west entrance of Beaufort Sea. And that one, I'm not going to list off all of these, but basically just all over. It's absolutely wild what he's discovered with geoglyphs and geoglyphology, and that right here is the overall map, the size of the territory of what is plotted out in the Medicine Hat Badland Guardian site. And so right there, I've got about 30 different images of this face right here, including, I should highlights the fact that my main Crypto Alchemist logo is this face as well. But different satellite images and airplane images from above different angles as well as different seasons, and all show the face distinctly, the exact features no matter what time of year or what angle that you look at. And there we go. So there, and that is the line there is a road to an oil derrick. So what looks like an ear pod or just earpiece there, that is actually a road in an oil derrick. And this is the part of the valley there. And then this is the entire valley of structures. The bottom right, there you can see the main Badlands Guardian. And then the top left, this image, it's labeled as an alien coming out of the head, but that is the Mayan headdress logo or guy. But and then to the left of that, what is called the long nose and Birdman, which I believe is right here. You can see the white side, left side lighter with the large head, long nose, and then on the darker side, the big browed, big nosed face, which looked like Moye and like the statues of Easter Island, as well as like New Zealand, Hawaii sort of thing, right? Like one being the Birdman, one being the Moye. Not sure if you're able to see that, but that's on one end of it. And then, of course, this guy right in the middle, and that's the main access road that I actually drove on here that goes up to this Aztec or Mayan figure with the giant headdress here. And that is where I will show the actual pictures that I took of the site here. And
so you've actually been out and explored all around there then?
Yes, sir.
Very awesome.
Went down there. So yeah, I actually have driven on this road right here. And then the pictures I'm about to show are of like the guy's face, his nose, this area, and all of this here. And let me bring that up now. I think this. So this is one of the hill faces, and you can see what is clear terraces, parallel terracing all the way up the hill, and that these clear terraces literally line every single face of every angle of every hillside that make up all of these structures, and that these all it's ancient works. Like, I talked to the landowner, and like, he has nothing to do with this. His like ancestors have nothing to do with it. They don't drive up there. That isn't just animal tracks. It's literally equal terraces, parallel terraces, structuring every single face of every hillside along it. Oops.
Very cool.
Ooh.
How far is this from Red Rocks?
So this site, the Medicine Hat Badland Guardians, these guys are on the northeast side of Medicine Hat, and then Red Rock Coulee is on the southwest side of Medicine Hat. They're about 30 minutes, 45 minutes tops from driving from each other.
I didn't have when I went out and filmed Red Rock Coulee and had no idea that it was that close.
Yeah, right. It's like, that's why you got to come back, and we're gonna have to do it all over again, right? Like,
exactly.
fully explore
The
it.
terraces are really interesting to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to bring up more pictures of the terraces. I have a bigger folder of them here somewhere. And then you also have yet to be to Writing on Stone.
To what?
Writing on Stone Park. Actually, yeah, let me just show some Writing on Stone. It is just as fascinating. Hopefully this. Okay, no, sorry. Back to more of the terraces of the Badlands here. Here's another hill face. You can also see these terracing works on it. And that there's evidence of the terraces on every single hillside.
Now, has anybody dug down into any of these to see if there's stonework or anything?
As far as I'm aware, no. I've got the contact information of the owners of the property, and fully plan on going back there this year. Oh, there we go. Here's a video of a couple of eagles that were flying above me while I was there. Hawks, sorry. Yeah, just ranch land, just used as, it's badlands, right? It's some semi-desert, arid area, and just cattle grazed, and that's all. He was actually so petrified of wildfire breaking out. You can see all the smoke. It was northern Alberta was on fire at the time I was there last year, but yeah, it's very dry area. Okay, yeah, here you can see as well along the every single. So this right here is that what protrudes out, like the dragon headdress, that flame or that feather or whatnot that you saw on him. That's what this structure is, and you can see that there's parallel terraces all along the entire face of it.
Very interesting.
And then Red Rock Coulee. So close. And I swear that is a mound. Like, come on. All right, enough of that. One more thing I wanted to show before we move on to the next thing
Yeah,
is where.
the terracing parts are really interesting to me. You see that all over Peru, everywhere, just in on the sides of the mountains and everything, um, regardless if there's ancient sites or anything there.
This structure right here is also in Cypress Hills Interprovincial Park, but I believe it's on the Alberta side.
This is in Canada, not Peru. What?
Yes, sir. This is Canada, Alberta right here. Everything I've been
Oh,
showing is in
Canada.
Alberta.
Do you know where this is? Because I've seen this picture online, and I called my buddy up in Canada and asked him, and we couldn't figure out exactly where it was.
It's somewhere in the Cypress Hills Interprovincial Park. I'm not sure the exact location. I believe it is close by this site, which is where they're doing archaeological digs and have found like 4,500 or 4,500 BC uh, evidence of settlement here, I guess it was.
Interesting.
But I'm not sure on the exact location. I'm trying to figure that out and find out where that photo was taken. And then, of course, there is a Giants playground just south of the border there, right by Sage Wall. Oops. And then, yes, the Saskatchewan Mystery Walks. I believe
Yeah,
you took this photo, correct? I
me
think.
or no, I
Or
didn't.
your was with you, right? Or no? Maybe not.
Those? No, no, no.
No, no. Okay. My bad. I've shown many that you have, though. This is part of Omagh, Alberta, that's also in the area. And this here is called Canada's Stonehenge, and it is dated to 4,500 BC, so at least 6,500 years old. And it is a giant astrological calendar that is right around all of these sites that I've been showing here in between
So that's
this.
in the same area then.
Yeah, the exact
That's
same
amazing.
area.
Like I've heard of the Canada Stonehenge, and I know I've seen pictures, but my focus last time was pretty limited, so I just made it to the Mystery Rocks. But I'd love to come back and see all that stuff.
Right, that's what I'm saying. We got to do the Alberta Badlands tour. Check out all
Yeah,
of what we've just gone over, and then also cross over Montana. Check out Sagewell and check out Giants Playground because here is Swan Mountain, I believe, or Swan Rock. You can clearly see Swan Head and wings and all that. And then I guess there's this face in the same area of Giants Playground, as well as the Rhino Mountain in Giants Playground. And apparently, this whole structure is made of giant megalithic blocks. So that is something I need to investigate. I feel we all need to check out. And then this right here, this is Writing on Stone Park in Badlands. And I will actually bring up my own pictures of it that are exponentially better than that Getty image. Ghetto Getty. Come on. Do I even have it loaded? No. All right. Oh, here we go. So this is Writing on Stone. I swear that's a face. But it's like these, I believe, are structures. There's like, they all look like they are polygonal blocks. It's wild. It's something else, this place. Oops. And when you look at it, you actually start finding more and more blocks throughout it and what looks like ancient walls and what kind of resembles like Turkey, like Cappadocia or Egypt or Jordan. It's quite wild. But then also the same as what you find throughout Utah, Colorado, and the rest of the states. And like, I suspect this could be an astrological alignment potentially. And yeah, this site runs for, I believe, 10 miles of these hoodoo badlands on both sides of the river, and that there's petroglyphs, ancient petroglyphs, dated to thousands of years, down some parts of it and up the other parts of the site. And like that looks kind of cart rutish.
Right? Don't you kind of want to like slide down that?
Yes.
I mean, if you do, don't you think all of nature that's come before you has wanted to slide down that? That's probably what that's about.
Man, right? Like,
Yeah,
just
very hoodoo.
Seems like a practical cart place.
and it's just wow. These pictures aren't even doing it justice. I didn't get the good. Thought I selected the good ones, but wrong folder. There's whole areas that just look like
That
megalith
whole area
blocks,
looks like a different country. That's amazing.
right? Like it's crazy, and
Like Turkey or something.
right, and so back to Red Rock Coulee. So we will stop that, and welcome Zerdis. Join the discussion with Mike.
I've just been checking it out, and it's pretty interesting stuff. I mean, thank you for coming, Mike, and it's cool that you went to Peru because, like, I was in Peru, but it's been what 5 years or more now, so it's kind of like been a minute. I like thinking about how much this stuff is connected. So it's crazy to look at Canada, and I was thinking you were still looking at pictures of Peru. It's like, wow,
Right.
you know.
And he's been to the Canary Islands. He's been to Malta. He's been to Sage Wall here, and works with the Sage Wall people in Montana.
Yeah, and Sage. Well,
Right.
yeah. Thank you for joining us. If you've been to Peru, I mean, you know how just like what a wealth of just ancient history there is there, and it's kind of like a blueprint that helps you look at other, you know, places around the world. Once you've been there, it definitely kind of opens your eye to like looking at things a bit differently. Just like I was mentioning before, the terraces all up and down the mountainsides, everywhere you look, you notice things going on in Peru that are there's so much going on there that a huge majority of it isn't even paid attention to, which is wild, right? You have this huge modern city like Cusco just right in the middle of what would have been some thriving ancient culture back in the day, which is
Yeah, Cusco's weird. Let alone Lima. It was just like weird. Exactly right. But there's still some ancient going on outside of Cusco and like in the Rainbow Mountains and things. It's just
absolutely.
Peru's got like it's a weird amount of infrastructure because of the Japanese. So, you know, it's kind of the native part of it is either ignored or touristed.
Right. Yeah.
This is where's this at? This is in in
Montana.
Montana.
This is Montana Sage Wall, and look at that! It's perfect drill hole right there. Obviously,
clearly it's all natural. I can't believe that the powers of sand and wind threw together this clockwork. I don't know how to do it.
And
no, you're CGI. It's CGI. That's what it is. It's all fake.
Yeah,
it's fake news.
Right? Wonderful. It's all fake. You weren't there, Mike. Just the figment of your imagination.
This happened to me the other day. I was talking to that guy, the Minuteman guy, by accident because he would like put up his like video, and it was like this regurgitation in front of like a bunch of 18-year-old children that are like for the first time hearing about these things. And he's talking about the Bosnian pyramid. I'm just like, have you ever seen it? Like, what do you describe it as then? Like, I'm okay with you saying you don't think it is a pyramid, but then like, have you seen it? Because you're basically acting like there's nothing there. Go like tell us what you think it is. What are you trying? Like, are you trying to say that this is just a natural formation of ceramic in the shape of a pyramid? Like what? But it seems like so many people are like, it can't be. It surely isn't possible. It's like, okay, but like there it is there. Like it couldn't be in Bosnia, but there is something about like, what do you want from me? Like come up with some excuse then. Don't just tell me it doesn't fit your paradigm. That's silly.
I
Sorry.
agree. No, you're bang on with that, though. It's like a major issue of when dealing with people's cognitive dissonance of what we're actually looking at. And so, Mike, you're based out of Texas, correct?
Yes, I'm actually in Austin.
And so, what are we looking at here? These are ruts you found in Austin, Texas, and you're showing comparisons of the ruts of Malta that you also have been to and recently photographed.
Yes, so the top two pictures are pictures of cart ruts here at Bull Creek in Austin. And funny enough, we used to go down there and get drunk and get into all kinds of crazy stuff when I was a teenager. It was like our little every once in a while getaway spot out in the woods.
Ancient crossroads.
Had no idea back then. And so, yeah, I recently filmed out there and checked that site out. There's another site in Round Rock, which is this town that blends in with Austin, just north of Austin, where there's cart ruts as well. And since I was going over to the Canary Islands to be doing the band of holes comparisons and documentation, I was filming cart ruts on the Canary Islands, and then Malta has just several dozen known cart rut sites there on the islands. And so those are the bottom three pictures. So yeah, this is just a little comparison picture there that I put together of Austin versus Malta. And what I found.
Malta's cart ruts are just crazy, like you're demonstrating here. There's so many of them, and going into the sea and stuff. Like they're not from wooden carts. How, like Mohs hardness scale? How does wood erode all of this? Like lots of it, I guess, is limestone, but it's also in other materials, right?
Yeah, a lot of it's limestone, but that's not universal. And a lot of these cart ruts specifically in Malta, they go down into the ocean, off into the ocean, and then some of them go directly off cliffs as well.
Yeah, right. Because you'd just be taking your carts off cliffs. That's eroding them so much that because so many people would be taking their carts off of cliffs, right? Total logic sense.
And the other thing is, a lot of these cart ruts, they're uneven in terms of depth from side to side, that it would be impossible for a cart to navigate. Some of them turn and cross each other in ways that
yes,
don't
mud
work
can
out.
turn into rock, but that's sandstone. That is not limestone or dolerite or other things that they might be found in. Like right, you have to be specific, and it's not in those rocks that it is found.
Yeah. Now, I don't want to throw out all theories. I think there's so many cart ruts around the world that are comparable and also different. But
yeah,
the main thing that I'm trying to do by documenting these sites in America is just
natural salt geopolymer.
Further proof that there is comparable sites here in America worth looking at and taking the time to explore. Like I mentioned before with the Dolmens, cart ruts, places like Sage Wall, where North America has just been, I think, criminally overlooked in terms of ancient sites compared to the rest of the world. Everywhere else in the world, everything is considered what it is or researched and given its due for the most part. Whereas if it's in America, it's just kind of
it's natural. It can only be natural.
As a glacial erratic or all of them are wagon trails without looking into it further or whatever. So, by now I'll be LiDARing and 3D imaging the ones here in Austin soon, but I LiDAR and 3D image dozens of sites in Malta and the Canary Islands.
Oh, epic.
And, I'll be looking forward to sharing. I'll be doing an entire video on the cart ruts that I filmed around the world and putting that together hopefully this summer.
Heck yes. Look forward to
that.
It's
crazy just thinking about all around the world, you've got these like particular geometric shapes, these rocks that are not perfect cubes. This is the same style all over the place. And yeah, I wonder also if there was metal. Like, are these tracks? You're saying that maybe had tracks on them, like rails at some point, or if they were using, you know, the thing is also we have to understand people had wheels, they had other technology, they had sleds and things like that. And if you're going places where you don't have roads, it makes sense not to necessarily use wheels. If you have roads,
So,
you build your technology around it. That's why horses have to wear shoes.
right, one of the interesting things that I noticed while exploring the Carteret sites in Malta was that I don't know if this has been brought to people's attention before, not yet, but what I noticed when I was out there was there's clear evidence at many of the sites of quarrying, cut blocks cut out of areas right next to the carts, huge block cutouts, small block cutouts, and I'm wondering if these were some way of facilitating movement of um, these possibly quarried sites to another location or whatever. So that's definitely I'll be something I'll be looking at. I also lidar those parts of the sites as well, and so I'll be looking into breaking all of that down. If we can prove that these sites were actually quarry sites, something that would need to
Right,
be
and
done.
because there's also the aspect of potential geopolymer with some of them too, or that, as Bob Greenier at the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project, with the wind hex machine technology and research they've been doing, and all of his work into it, proposing that with the ancient geopolymer that they were able to break down using just like vortex wind the stone into this powder, and then for once it was in powder form, just basically move it all as and use it as geopolymer cement, and then reconstruct things where needed. And I believe that is most likely the case in certain of the situations around the world, right? Like, because what I most likely believe scenario is of like the 5 eras or like many different resets, and that there's been many different past global civilizations with advanced technologies building and remnants, and at least one was a geopolymer, and at least like two were carving of the megalithics, right? Cutting the stone out, right? But
Yeah, I
advanced.
think there's a very, I made this post showing examples of what you're looking at on the screen right now is pictures I took at Saxe Woman. And I think that this kind of speaks towards geopolymer. Now, people will disagree with me, and I'm not saying for sure that I know that,
I agree that these ones look geopolymer. This
but
polygonal style wall technique.
yeah, and the difference between a site like Saxe Woman and, for example, a site that's not far away like Coricancha, in the block structures and their shape and formations is hugely different. They're not the same type of construction, and you have examples of this specifically on the streets in Cusco of these megalithic block structures that have this polygonal type shape to them, like in Sacsayhuaman, and then on top of that, more kind of smaller, precise, fitted pieces like Coricancha, and then above that, you have examples of like the Spanish stoneworking, which is even less precise. And then above that, you have like examples of like modern construction, which looks even less advanced than any of the rest. So as you go up,
Right? Like the further back you go, the more advanced building and
right,
structures you find. It's wild.
yeah. So, um, yeah, this looks like to me, like for example, that top left pick, if that stone was poured, and again, I'm using if here, right? I personally like to keep my mind open to all possibilities instead of focusing in on one, because that allows me to be a bit more objective and take in all possibilities while I'm exploring sites, and be open to what I'm seeing and present. instead of walking in somewhere with kind of a pre-established mindset of something. So if this was geopolymer, if we're assuming that narrative as we're speaking right now, that top left picture looks like that would have been something that was perhaps poured in some type of container or something that held it all into place. And then there was perhaps boards or something leaned and pressed against it into the side,
Pressing into, right?
holding
Right.
that whole piece in place if it was kind of bulging out or
Bang
something.
on, like,
And
Well,
then
I mean,
it,
so
yes,
for whatever
it's
reason,
like
people
2x4s.
at the bottom,
people thought that like 20th century geopolymer concretes were relatively recent inventions until they started noticing, like all of the Roman
Roman
Pantheon,
concrete,
etc. They're all made with Roman concrete. So now we've admitted that Roman concrete exists, and there's been MIT studies on the Egyptian pyramids even to see if like the crystallization that's happening is some sort of a what do you call that? Where your crystal grow kit essentially. When you make this concrete, it's designed so that it creates these crystalline bonds in between the
yeah,
rock.
it's a chemical reaction process. That's
Right.
where you're getting such solid and such age, length, and durability.
Yeah, like I mean, if you imagine that this thing is supposed to take
years.
Everyone's telling you this thing is taking 40 to 100 years to build at least, and I don't know if that's true or not, but it doesn't take much longer than 18 months to 3 years for the crystallization process to become completely solid. And it's really like a few weeks for it to really start, and then you just have continual growth as long as if it continues to get wet, and then you can have access to mineral deposits. Those lattices will continue to grow, and if there's already mineral composites, that sediment in the concrete mixture, then this will just become more and more stone-like over time. And so that would make it a lot harder for someone to say, oh, well, this was cut versus this was, molded. But the point is it's possible.
And I love what you're saying, Mike, of like being open to each possibility, and that it's like you don't go in with the pre-bias, or like it's you look at what is in front of you and then deduce what's most likely the possibility.
Yeah,
And in this instance,
see the
you're
top
showing
left, the bottom left picture out of
right
the
here.
four. Okay, the far left indentation at the top of that picture. So see how that just looks like it was pushed in, and there's a bulge there at the top of it where there was something pushed in there. Now, this is me going from the mindset and assumption that we're looking at this as if it was geopolymer, right? So if something was pressed in there, it would make sense that there would be an excess at the top of it as it was pressed in, that lip. And you have that similar look on each one of these spots, as if something was placed in there holding it in place, and then it hardened around that. Now again,
100%. Like, but more than that, even you can see that it actually, so it's like a 2x4 or something like that, and that you can actually see right here too what looks like the actual boards going down. There's 3 lines and grooves of what was like the top here, and then going down, holding it in place.
That's a great point you just made right there. Yeah. So I like to explore all ideas, and I'm not I recently did a post on Twitter, and I propositioned people's opinion on geopolymer, and I got a lot of kickback and a lot of support. I haven't really engaged with that post yet because I just wanted to get people's idea, and there's people dropped a lot of information, and there's people that really get fired up about the geopolymer debate on both sides. Right now, we're seeing people do this. I'm sure you guys have seen. There's a couple gentlemen that are doing pouring of stone.
Shout out Dutch Stance is one channel who's making his own geopolymer and
so
ashtrays.
I don't follow any of that closely enough to like have an opinion, but I see it occasionally in what they're doing in these small forms. And that's very interesting, especially if we realize that it could be scaled up. I don't see any reason to dismiss the fact that ancient people could have figured something like this out. You have all sorts of stuff like salt fields and different things all around that area in Cusco. There's a famous the famous salt spot where they're pulling salt out of the mountains and stuff like that in these pits. Not far away from Cusco there, that in fact we'll be visiting on my Peru trip. and which would be, you know, perfect for, you know, if you need salt for that process. But that's this picture here that you're showing now is another great example of what looks like kind of indentations in stone.
100%. They would most likely be boards, the end of long boards, holding it up while it's drying, right? Like your mold. That seems the most logical for sure.
You know, I don't you know, I've heard arguments that these were like pounded out or somehow dented, you know, worked into the stone. I fail to understand the reasoning behind that for making these square formations in a pattern that way, working the stone.
The amount of work.
Or why you wouldn't remove the indentations if you were able.
It's just illogical.
Yeah, and a lot of these stones, they do have nubs, but you'll see a lot of them have these indentations at the bottom of their of the stone, the actual indentations, and those, you know, they seem to be like they would have been possibly placed there for support somehow. The deeper,
if you're pouring into like a burlap sack or something like that, that you just have stitched those little nubs in whatever spot, so as it's drying, you can lift it or use it as supports or whatever, right? Makes sense to me.
So,
very back to Texas.
Dig into in Peru.
Back to Texas, though. Have you been to the Texas rock wall? Because you live there and you've been to this wall. I think you need to go if you haven't.
Yeah, you know, Rockwall is a spot that it's been on my radar for a long time, and it's weird because it's always funny. You don't always hit the places that are in your own backyard. You know what I mean? You kind of ignore stuff that's around you. And again, like I live in Austin. There's 2 cart rut sites, and I've only filmed one of them. But I would like to get out there and see it. I'm very familiar with Rockwall. It's not far from me, few hours, I think. And I from what I understand, though, I believe they covered the wall back up. At some point, they excavated a portion of it, and then they covered it back up. So I don't know that there's anything to see when you go up there, but I'll have to check that out before I make the drive.
Right, and if you got the LiDAR capabilities, might as well, in your drone, right? You need to get out there. Let's do a live stream together of Wandering Wolf wandering to the Texas rock wall.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. You know, for years, my focus was on international travel, but over the last year, I've definitely dialed that in a bit more with trips in between my international travels, going to places in America, because I found it fascinating that there's so many examples to show people of things worth looking into here in the States, in North America. Not just the States, obviously, but Canada and places like that as well.
Totally. I mean, I've noticed, especially when we talked about Deseret or, old California, and the, Oregon Trail, Mormon Trail, all of these places where these military battalions built or rebuilt or seized forts, right? And a lot of these forts, some of them have been destroyed, some of them have been flooded underneath dams, some of them have been repossessed by U.S. military, or some of them are just still sitting out there. But a lot of them are ignored, and some of them have the same kind of stone structure, it seems, as, we're seeing all over the place.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that spot underwater up in Lake Michigan, I think, is very interesting. They're calling that a Stonehenge too, as well. Is that correct? It's a interesting.
Yeah, it's a henge. It's a astrological calendar megalithic structure at the bottom of Lake Michigan that makes it have to supposedly be, pre-ice age, Younger Dryas time frame minimum of being built. And welcome, Tim.
What's going on, fellas?
Hello.
This is Tartarian Truth, aka Sam Jacobs. Meet Mike Collins, Wandering Wolf, and met Zertis Andreas before.
Pretty interesting stuff. It's pretty cool. You could see it in person. I'd like to check it out myself because has some ideas about why these stones could be that way. And the cart rut situation, there are other sites in India, for example, that are pretty fascinating that line up with that, just in the middle of nowhere. I think it's
Yeah,
called like Gir or something in India, called Krishna's chariot landing or something like that.
India's like my number one place that I want to visit. I've tried going there maybe 2 or 3 different times, and something's happened every time. So when I finally do make it there, I'm hoping to spend at least a month or 2 when I go.
All right, we're doing it together next year or the year after. It'll be called Bear and Wolf Productions.
There you go. Love it.
Well, what's interesting is you find these structures and these walls, the Cyclopean walls, whatever you want to call them, all around the world, but they seem to line up with a certain type of law that allows people who celebrate the Sabbath to travel freely on Saturdays because they fit into the parameters of the height of the wall and other things that they're supposed to be in. And what's interesting is that they're not allowed to make structures from hewn stones, which lines up with some of these stones that you're seeing at these sites now. You say they look like geopolymer, and I think a reason why they would look like geopolymer could be in relation to Deuteronomy. I think it's Deuteronomy, where it says you shall lay stones and cover them with plaster. So what that means to me is these stones, why they're different sizes, why they're not necessarily perfect, but they kind of line up in a way is maybe they're building these stone walls using these rocks and then coating them with some sort of plaster, which left maybe like a geopolymer type trace. But once again, I've never been to these sites before, so I haven't had a chance to like chip anything off and check underneath it and see what's going on. I know a lot of people do say that they are solid stone, but I mean that's just people talking. I'm not sure if you can trust their opinion or not, right? So
Yeah,
it's just
most of
go
them are
ahead.
solid stone. However, you will find some in you know, I think it was Tambo Mache that we went to on my most recent trip to Peru, where um, it did look like these perfect kind of geopolymer looking stones over what was behind rock faces. So there are several examples of that at Tambo Mache of parts where the rock is removed, and behind it you can see that it was just a natural formation behind it that it was fitted on, right? So how is it fitted on that? Or that
You know
the
when you publish
detail
that
of
video, Mike?
carving that you have to make it fit onto the rock face would be something. And the best example that I saw while the times that I've been in Peru was Tambo Mache. Um, and
Do
I
you have
think
a
I
video of it I
video.
can bring up and so?
The video that I posted showing what I'm talking about, I think I posted to Twitter a while back.
Okay, no
Yeah, it's on
worries.
social media. I haven't gotten into any of that footage to make videos yet.
It's great. Have you
Yeah,
been
right?
to Chaco? Have you been to the Chaco Canyon in New Mexico?
Have I been there?
Yeah. Have
Yeah.
you seen that? Doesn't it? What do you think about that? Do you connect any of that to this? Because it's supposed to be like kind of a prehistoric, or well, 900 to before 900, all crazy stone megalithic structures. You
Well,
know,
there weren't really any megalithic stones that I saw, but the idea that that was just some ceremonial place that didn't have. I mean, the Chaco Canyon looks very similar to sites like
like Rome, yeah.
Corral and different places in Peru, where
Sure.
you have these
And
structures.
Jordan as well.
The
The
environment used to be different.
Petra. It
It's
has a
very interesting to me
Petra-esque
that this
feel
is
as well.
this is crazy looking. All these different civilizations that they're supposed to be like super disconnected. I don't know.
Right.
This looks pretty
Right?
similar to some things we've
Interconnected.
seen in South America and Turkey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I do think it's
Really,
possible that they
really
were
weird.
connected. It seems very likely they were. They're trading goods, they're trading religion, they're trading DNA. I mean,
Yeah, we have such a tendency in America because of our educational system to kind of in our heads think of this like imaginary line that separated the cultures back in the day from, Central America and Mexico from Native Americans as being wholly unique or these separate things, when they had to have been in contact with each other. There had to have been trade and influence between these peoples and stuff, right? Like, um, that's just an absolute
There's just no way around it. There's literally
right,
no way around it.
right.
I mean, like, it's just funny to me because people don't, like, because you brought up America, like, people don't think about how crazy, and we've heard about the Hopewell Mounds and things, but what about the Mesa Verde, right? These crazy wall cliff buildings in Colorado that were started somewhere between 7,500 BC and 900, BC or something like that. Like, they're supposed to be continually built upon over thousands of years. So that kind of implies that there was a lot going on here for a long period of time. Yet all we see is kind of this. This is what's left of the structure. It just seems like there's more, like this is a decimated or destroyed culture. This is the very the last bastion of security they had behind a cliff. So this is all that's left, and everything else is kind of after 1,000 years, it's all gone except for this. But look at it. I mean, it's crazy when you think about all of the stuff that's in America, right?
Yeah. Yeah, massive sites. I mean, you get up to Cahokia, the history of Cahokia at its height, that city was larger than London at the same time. I think it had something like 250,000 people living there at one point, if I remember correctly, with this massive city complex and stuff. And we don't learn about these things, at least not. We don't learn about them enough.
What do you think about the idea they've talked about? So people talk about in school, they're like, well, the natives, they just burned everything. They just burned everything so that the bison would be chased around. Do you think that that's maybe like kind of a dodo bird story? Like they maybe a more recent thing that all of the environmental disaster that they burned everything down? Because it seems like that's a good cover. You say everything was they just burned it.
I think our understanding of what Native American culture truly was is very limited in terms of, you go back and you look at Gregory Little is probably one of the best people doing work on mounds that I'm aware of in the entire world. I mean, his documentation of mound systems throughout the Americas is just phenomenal, and there's thousands of sites all over.
Pull it up, but BurnEye won't share my screen.
North
Just
America.
At BurnEye. There it is.
I mean, they show a level of advancement. Yeah, they show a level of advancement within these societies, these communities, these cultures that are beyond basic nomads. Depending on how far back you're going and our timelines here for North America. I mean, the idea that there weren't cities and civilizations here as far as North America is, I think, ridiculous.
It's also interesting, these mounds, right? I mean, this sort of Egyptian thing. I don't know how else to put it. Just this, because like the Book of Mormon connecting it to this idea of there's multiple cultures that are connected from some ancient origin point. The fact that the ancient origin point both shares these sort of pyramids, and pyramids like a general term, but this idea of fire inside, right? Pyre, right? Something that they're building these mounds for this purpose of. Do you think that these mounds are, I mean, here they're showing it like, well, these mounds were for burials. That's what they say for the pyramids. I don't really believe it for the Egyptian pyramids. Do you think that these mounds were really for burials? These Native American ones, like the Hopewell mounds, the Krigler mounds?
No.
Cool.
None of them. None of them.
All right, well, that opens it up. So what do you think it is? Or do you, or have you considered and entertained some ideas what it might be?
As far as the sites in North America, I'm really kind of just getting into some of that. Definitely why I'm definitely referring people to Gregory Little. His work is, I think, second to none, and he's a great resource. If you follow him on Twitter, he's dropped stuff all throughout the day, every day.
What's that?
Gregory Little.
Oh yeah, Gregory Little, the creator of that book we were just looking at. Okay.
Yeah, and I believe he has something like 70 books out, which is incredible. And that would be the resource that I would recommend if you want to get into ideas about mounds, research, studying. And it's something I'm looking to get into a bit more over the coming year in years as I start to have a bit more focus on America and documenting sites here, as opposed to just strictly documenting things internationally, which I'll still be doing, but also having that focus here in North America as well.
Pretty sweet that you can go borrow the book for free on archive.org. So you can go log in and get it like for no money. You just read it while you have it in your account. It's a free account.
Nice.
So if anybody's interested in Gregory Little and they want to check out the entire illustrated encyclopedia of Native American mounds and earthworks, I mean, no excuses. Here it is, right here.
Yeah, free, great resource, good stuff. He drops fire content. He's been traveling lately, so he's dropping pictures of sites that he's been going to, which is really cool. Yeah, cool account to follow. Great resource for books and learning. Definitely recommend. But yeah, I'd like to get into the mounds a bit more here in the future, so I kind of have a better grasp of that. Maybe I'll give you a better answer next time. But I don't think that some of these more massive structures that all that was, done just to bury someone in. I'm not, again, I don't like to speak in absolutes. I'll be the first to tell you that I don't know enough about some of these sites, especially here in North America, to say definitively, but that would not be my first assumption.
Yeah, and it's not definitive that it was for burials. And it's interesting how they're constantly pushing that every single pyramid is for death. It's for like celebrating death.
Right.
It makes you think there might be some cool, usually every lie has some truth in it, right? Like maybe they're sacrificing people that were, maybe it's also where babies are born, or maybe it's where all energy comes from that facilitates life. I mean, those are just
all I know is I want to meditate.
If someone says it's about death,
or out of body, right? Just misunderstood, and that you can astral travel from inside. Supposedly, I've heard people when they chant and meditate inside the supposed sarcophagus box in the king's chamber or whatnot have quite the out-of-body experience. Even Hans has described his there. But yeah, to the point of these mega structures like the mega pyramid, the megalithic pyramids that mounds, some of the mounds, the bigger mounds, and then lots of the mounds actually have mountain pyramids underneath them that need to be excavated. But that there was this past, it was a pre-cataclysm society and builders, and that the majority of pyramids around the world are given wrong associations of the people that and cultures that found them and re-inhabited them, not built them specifically. And like right here, you can see this is how Giza was found. The Sphinx was buried. The pyramids were buried. They had to undo them all. And then this is the Bosnian pyramid of the sun here,
where can't be a pyramid in Bosnia. Sorry, I can't help myself.
There can't just be one. In fact, there's multiple, at least 5, I believe, now that Sam has found and documented in the area there. And actually, this is a pretty decent spot to segue into the second half of the geoglyph presentation that includes the Bosnian pyramids. Back to the Faram Foundation, if my computer will load it. And also the Yanaguni pyramid in Japan, or structure, is also explained by geoglyphology and the Faram
Hey, did
Foundation.
you hear Bodhi and Alex's little joke down here? Bodhi Gaia says, every city has a cemetery, but not every cemetery has a city. So Alex says, you mean cemetery?
Oh,
I like
right? If I'm ever cremated, I want to be put into geopolymer bricks.
Good job, Alex.
Back to geometry of the Bosnian pyramids. Bosnian pyramid of the sun, the moon, and the earth, I guess they're called. And stage 1. So this dating here is done by Arthur Faram, and he magically, surprisingly, and no coincidence at all on his own, came up with the exact same dates that Samir has come up with in the, I believe, carbon dating tests that they've done from different excavations, but of it being at least 22,000 or 24,000 years old, the Pyramid of the Sun, and that how the Faram Foundation comes up with his dates is the time period of what structure or what pyramid um, around the world that the other sites start being incorporated into, and when they stop being incorporated into the other geoglyph sites being made, if that makes sense, right? So it's like lots of the ancient sites that were pre-cataclysmic, they are not included in newer geoglyphs, such as ones that are made in the Bastion Fort and Old City forts, but that's a little later in this presentation.
Scott asked, do Mormons believe in cremation? Fun fact, Mormons do not cremate. I mean, it's not a belief thing. We believe it exists, but Mormons don't cremate because it's like, like Bob Marley didn't want his toe cut off. It's kind of the same idea.
Oh, and sorry, I read that wrong. This is the orientation of the Pyramid of the Sun. Arthur Faram says is circa 22.8 BC, and that the actual construction is 32,000 BCE, and that's because it appears in some of the other most ancient giant pyramid geoglyph sites around the world, including specifically Indonesia, that he has deciphered and found the maps of the Pyramid of the Sun first appearing, thus dating it that old. And that this orientation aspect is that he's found lots of the pyramids are shifted. The construction, the due north or whatnot, is off by a little bit after 24,000 years ago. So just like there was the Younger Dryas event 12,000 years ago, he has found evidence that half a cycle before that, one full cycle from right now, happened to shift the orientation of the due north magnetic pole. Very strange. As I'm just making sense of that all in my mind right now. All right, so the point here of these three angles, the 323, 222, 143, the three sides of the main Pyramid of the Sun, they actually plot out to Lewis Island, Tunisia, and to Luxor. So built into the actual angle sides of the construct of the Bosnian Pyramid, plot to Luxor, Tunis, and Lewis Island. Here he's showing that he found this massive destruction in Central America due to the fact that there was missing, or a geoglyph site that was in all the pre 12,000-year-old and older geoglyph locations that went into like the middle of this, of a geoglyph site that no longer exists. Thus, he's showing that this was some massive catastrophe that happened 24,000 years ago. Back to the Pyramid of the Sun, when you add in the four corners of it, it actually also goes to the Bay of Nazarene, Scotland Island, southern border of Russia, even to today, and to Cape Town, I guess, or something. Very fascinating. Then stage 2, building of the moon or Pyramid of the Moon and Pyramid of the Earth. He finds both to be 11,500 years old, so right at the time of the Younger Dryas catastrophe event, and right at the exact same time, coincidentally, of Plato's Atlantis, and the same dating as Göbekli Tepe. I do believe. And he gets these dates from any other sites from exactly that time period, also now including the pyramid of the moon and Earth in it, and as well that the angles of these two pyramids also plot out to specific geographic ancient locations, including Jerusalem, another border marker of Russia and Europe to this day, to Denmark, to Cornwall, to the tip of Portugal, to the tip of Africa, and that when you also add in the triangulation of the three pyramids together and add in their lengths and angles, you get an additional 3 radials that I believe. Right here. So you got one going to the Pillars of Hercules there, one going to north tip of Ireland, and one going to what is Kaliningrad, Russia, on the Baltic Sea as well. Like, just such insanely specific, like, details built into the structure. It's mind blowing. And here's the last crazy part of it is also geoglyphology. The old world cities, these what are essentially the original star city shapes or citadel city shapes, the bastion fort cities, from their central points, their radials of each street going out also plot out as geoglyph radials, and that Arthur Faram found when he did his geoglyphology radial map from Moscow street glyphs. It plots out to the actual territorial boundaries of Russia today. And oh, yeah, the very last part, there's a second stage of geoglyphs, newer geoglyphs built at the Bosnian pyramid sites, and they are what are called the bastion forts that were built on top of the pyramids, also known as little star forts that were built on top of the pyramids, and each of their walls and angles, all of these bastion forts also do geoglyphs and these radials and plot out, and that he shows that the bastion forts, the newer updated geoglyphs on top of the pyramids, go to all of these additional newer locations, so that the powers that be are still using and building their architecture and mapping their territories with this to this day. And this right here is the overall complete territory plotted out in the Bosnian pyramid, and how pretty much identical or similar to the current European Union, that is, and that this border region is where there's a war being fought over today. And here's a ancient border marker. Looks pretty antiquitech, or what would be labeled Tartarian. Literally at one of the geoglyph sites, mapped into the actual wall angle of the pyramid of the sun that goes to the current yet ancient border between Russia and Europe.
What's that symbol there at the top of the bottom of the lower pillar part?
Which, this part or this part?
The lowest part of the pillar that looks separate right there, but lower. There's a symbol.
Oh, right there.
Yeah, right in the center of the structure almost.
Yeah, I'm gonna download it and see if I can zoom in. I'll have to get back to you on that. And then here's the second border marking between Europe and Russia that is built into one of the bastion forts on top of the Pyramid of the Sun. So that's pretty mind blowing, and I still have to read Arthur Faram's full book to get the specific mathematics that he uses in his calculations, and verify it all. But that is one of my goals, to go out back to the Medicine Hat Badland Guardians this year to document some of the earthenworks that are the radials that Arthur Faram has up on his website. And then this, you've shown great. So this actually really makes sense. So both if they use this site as a quarry, as well as they quarried down, they did the specific angles into the sides of Yanaguny that he shows here when he plots them out. And this is actually just freaking mind-boggling. Apparently, when you take each of these different angles here of the main structure, and he plots them out with his radial geoglyphology there, and that's why I got to get the mathematics to verify this, because if this is actually true and accurate, this just completely redefines all history. And that if they were cutting it down as a quarry, and as they did it, they made it to these specifics. Each of these degreed radials that Arthur Faram says are built into it literally plot into this map right here. And this map territory that you see right here that are the outlined by the radials of the Yanaguny geoglyphs is the exact same territory that Japan went for and controlled at the height of World War II. Mind blown.
That was pretty good. That was good. That was like he tied it all back.
Right? Like, if this is all accurate, that's freaking wild. And if
hopefully Japan will free us. That's what we need.
Actually plot out to that right there. And
I did recently, I think it's in the Dropbox folder, do a comparison picture between Yanaguny and
I'll bring that up right now.
There's over 40,000 signatures to free Stellar Blade from censorship and oppression. I know that seems kind of vaguely tangential, but if you think about it, we're all one.
And here we go. Got the picture. Boom. Showing Yanaguny to other quarries. And
man, that's crazy.
So the side on the left is so the top two pictures are Yanaguny. The middle left is Egypt. Middle right is Aswan. Bottom left is Jerusalem, and the bottom right is Peru. Now, I've been to 3 of these, and the Yanaguny site underwater, it looks so incredibly familiar, just similar to some of these other ancient quarry sites. I've visited a lot of quarries around the world. It happens to be a real interest of mine. And, there's, I think, definitely some comparisons, especially if you take any of these pictures and you start going into them a bit deeper in terms of angles, different pictures and stuff. And I even have videos out on several of these sites, if I remember correctly. I think I have videos out on. I may not have gotten the footage out yet for like Aswan and stuff like that, but I've filmed them all, and I'll be releasing footage of that eventually. I have so much backlog of footage, but that's just what it looks like to me. Is the quarry site potentially Yanaguny looks very similar to stuff that you see in Peru. Some of the points that Graham was making that in the recent debate with Dibble on Joe Rogan, where Dibble just outright
painful to watch at parts.
But he rejected the idea of Sacsayhuaman, but what Graham was referring to was Ronadero, which is right across the field from Sacsayhuaman. It's the same site basically, and that's that bottom right picture. which looks hugely comparable to the top left
Right?
picture of Yonaguni.
So much. Like, undeniable canny resemblance. Oh, no, I thought there was another one in there. Oh, I guess it's not. Oh, yeah. This is the Chinese quarry on the very top, I believe. And
So
then
those are 3 different
Baalbek.
ancient quarries that I visited. The Aswan is in the bottom right, Baalbek on the bottom left, and the top picture is Yangshan Quarry in China. Now, I'm actually in that picture in the top one. It's just
Oh,
hard.
yeah, look, right? Wandering wolf wandering into the bottom right
But
there.
that gives you a sense of scale of just how massive that piece is. There's 2 more massive pieces at Yangshan that are
How many mics tall is that? That's at least 15, 20 mics tall.
Yeah, it's an enormous site. And I do have a drone video out and everything for that Yangshan site, which you can see on my channel, which gives you a great aerial perspective of how massive these pieces are there at Yangshan. There's three major pieces there at Yangshan. And it's Baalbek is consistently referred to as the largest megalithic blocks in the world, at least.
But it's not at all.
It's not even close. You can see in the picture there that's not even comparable.
As well as the one from Siberia,
huge.
And then I believe there's many bigger ones throughout the Americas as well, including the Grand Canyon.
But I put these 3 pictures together because they're often referenced as some of the largest megaliths, megalith quarries sites. Obviously they're not uncut and freed from the quarry, but they're still attached. But these are often referenced. But Yangshan is just hands down. It's just it is just so much.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, that could be the largest. Yeah, I guess I don't know. The Siberian ones are big, but not that big. Like
it's so big.
They ain't Yangshan big.
Yeah. And I hope to go back to China one day. There's so much interesting stuff there, especially when you get into the pyramids, which I've also documented and I got drone footage of. The pyramids in China, I filmed. They're covering those all up with trees, planting trees all over them and hiding them. But I was fortunate enough to be able to get drone footage of about 3 or 4 pyramids there in China. Now I'm gonna have to go back and redo some of that footage and make drone videos and pull that footage out, because when I filmed in China, I was still making these vlog videos. I was still trying to find my voice for the videos that I was making.
For
and
sure.
They're buried in, some of that footage is buried in 30-minute videos of a travel vlog of me like making my way.
So that's going to be another series we're starting together, and it's going to be called Learning to Edit Videos while reviewing Wandering Wolf's travels, right?
Talk about a learning process. Yeah, editing is not my strong suit, so
mine neither, but we're learning how to do it because it's crucial, right?
Yeah, it's something you have to learn to
Shout out Shem. Shem, we need you. Shem is the ultimate video editor, aka Tartarian Truth.
Nice. It's a great skill set to have, but sitting in front of the computer going over the same footage for hours and hours is just
especially when it contains your own voice, right?
Oh, dude, yeah, hearing yourself say the same thing over and over 100 times as you adjust the video it's rough.
It can drive one insane. That's
Absolutely.
for sure.
So if you go into playlists, are you looking for the Yangshan drone?
Yeah, I was gonna check that out.
Yeah, just go to playlists and then find the drone playlist. Drone ancient sites, first one.
Oh, and Yangshan, the first one.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Stupid ads. I tried to have some videos preloaded in Twitter and I completely forgot, but oh well. Here we go. This is your drone footage.
Yeah, and those are the other 2 pieces. And then there's the massive one there, the biggest one. I mean, the other two are massive as well, but that one is just kind of mind-boggling.
Wow.
And you can see how the
For
rest
what
of the
rationale and purposes, right? Like it's just so illogical and like blatantly, and sorry to put it this way, retarded to think that people with like copper chisels were just chiseling this out and like didn't even have the wheel and were like just decided to do it, you know, for whatever ridiculous reason of the day that the narrative wants to try to tell us. And it's like, no, this is high technology, and there was rationale behind the reason for them to undertake that amount of work and workforce and magnitude of colossus structures and undertakings that it
Now,
is.
about this site, one thing that is interesting about this site is that the story behind this site actually has, you know, there's some validity to it, which is that it was, you know, commissioned to be and was going to be the, you know, basically the largest stele in the world, basically, right? Now, all, yeah, all three pieces, they do form the basic structure of a stele, which is the largest piece would have been the base, that skinny piece, and the longest piece would have been the center, and with the smaller piece there being the piece that would have gone on top. Now that would have formed an actual stele, which makes sense. Their shape, everything about them all makes sense, 100%. It's exactly what it looks like if you took all these pieces, removed them, and put them in that position. They are all shaped that way. However, the level of precision in the stoneworking that's going on at this site is just mind-boggling. And what you don't get to see in this drone video that you do get to see in my other video where we're walking in on the ground on the Yangshan site is underneath that piece that we're over right there, the skinny piece. Underneath that, the whole underside of that has basically been removed. So there's a space underneath there. And underneath that space are all these different types of where they left these blocks in various shapes and cuttings and carved out pieces. Also in the smallest piece there in the bottom right there, there are these precision cut through holes where you can see, just like in the largest piece at the base of it were cut, where you can see the plan was, I think, to eventually remove that there. That's how they were removing it. So if you look there, you'll see those bottom piece cutouts, right? So they were going to eventually somehow remove those, and then it would be free. But they've turned it, you can see here, they turned it all into a tourist destination. So all those are tourist type buildings. They put on shows throughout the day in that little water park and all sorts of things. And then you walk up the trail to the back. Most of these places, like Longyu Caves and Yangshan, are all being turned into tourist destinations. And where when they can, they're modifying the ancient sites. So, like if you watch my Longyu Longyu Caves video, all the carvings in that video, all the carvings at Longyu Cave are added in recent times since discovery. None of those carvings are original. So any of the depictions of like people, dragons, all that stuff, all that in that site, that has all been added at a later date. And my assumption is that they'll eventually, all those caves will have carvings all throughout them to basically cut up the parallel bands of what look like machining tool marks on the inside of the caves. And then, you know, you have other examples of them covering up ancient sites there in China, like the pyramids and stuff that I documented. So the pyramids, they've been planting trees on them for years to cover up the pyramids with no archaeological work being done there.
Right? And it's like, for some reason, they just seem to never want to do that archaeological work at the most enigmous and anomalous sites. It's like, oh no, we can't dig there. It's religious importance all of a sudden. But at the same time, when we bulldoze it in 5 years, don't worry about it because it was nothing at all.
Right. Yeah. So you know, China's a place I'd love to get back to, just for the simple fact of being able to document some of these things even more in depth, and other sites before they kind of effectively disappeared. So there's the Long UK's video, but you can see those carvings there in the background. Those aren't
Oh
those aren't
man, I can't believe you've been to all of these sites, man.
yeah.
Just
But
epic.
all the carvings, yeah, all of those carvings they're new. They're
Oops,
not
sorry.
original.
Epic.
Oh, uh, so these carving, you're saying all of these are new carvings right here,
Correct. Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
that's
and then
new.
this is the original stuff, and
Right.
just the lines here, that's the original carving
What
or technology
I
process
do have
that was
some
used
close-up
to excavate.
shots. Yeah, I do have some close-up shots in the video of the walls, but what you'll see is it's not just the parallel bands, but on the inside of each parallel bands are vertical cut marks. And uh, I think it's towards the beginning of the video once I go
Like
down.
right here. No. Oh, okay.
Yeah, more towards I think the beginning when I get down into
There,
the
no.
first. Wait, what are you on the how-to
Right, oh,
video?
right there.
Oh, this is
Maybe.
there's
No.
another video.
You could see them when he was walking up the stairs on the
Oh, yeah.
side. You could
Yeah,
see
I'm on
you
the
could see
how
the
to.
vertical
My
lines.
bad.
So this is my how-to
Yeah, we're on the
video.
how to.
If you go to the video that's 13 minutes and 13 seconds on the right there, on the sidebar,
Oh. Oh,
that one,
oh,
long.
I'm on the wrong 13.
On the
Hey, I
Hold
gotta get going. Have a good night, guys.
on, sorry, one second. Oh, yeah, I am on this page.
it'd be on
Okay,
the
later,
last.
Shem. Much love, brother. Thanks for stopping in. Did I pass it?
It was on the last page that you were
Sorry?
on. The last video that you're on. If you go back to the long
Oh, it's on
video,
the last one. Sorry. Okay,
right
here. Oh, right there. There we go. Sorry, my apologies. Found it.
and then the close-up shots inside the cave of the parallel bands and stoneworking will be within the first, right when I get into the caves at the more towards the beginning of the
So
video.
this is new, and they've carved these new things to like kind of cover up the closest sites that you can see of the actual work. Eh?
right. And yeah, once I get down into the caves here at the beginning of the video, there'll be some close-up shots of the walls, and you'll see what I'm talking about in terms of the construction, which is also interesting because these marks, once we find them here on the video, these marks are also at Yangshan Quarry, on the inside of those underneath cutouts.
Oh, ooh, look at this, right? Like, I
Yes,
bet you literally probably have like 3 lifetimes worth of content of pictures and video to go through, right?
I have something like 24 or 25 terabytes of footage from all over the world that I probably still have 10 to 14 terabytes worth of footage I need to work through. It's a lot.
All right. Well, sounds like yet another series we're going to launch together, my friends. Working through it live. Then you make
So
videos. Oh, right there, just past
you were
it.
on it. Yeah, 429 right around there. You were on it there.
This part or the next part?
Next part.
Next part.
Yeah, you can skip ahead a little bit. Once I get down into the cave by the walls further in.
Okay.
Right there. So.
Oh. There we go. This part, right?
Yeah. So right in here, there should be some shots of the stoneworking of the walls. Yeah, somewhere in here we start showing some close-ups, I believe. But yeah, you'll see that's the first cave. They haven't really done a ton of modifications
new
to the
card.
walls yet.
This one you can see everywhere.
But in the second, third, fourth caves, they're really doing a lot of modifications to the area, which is unfortunate. They're even digging holes into the ground and making ponds.
What?
Yeah.
Like, why? Just to mess with the
You were on it.
right here. Oh, God. Camel. There we go. This.
And you'll
correct?
see the vertical cut marks going
Yeah.
across the.
There. Yeah. On each one. Okay. Yeah. I see exactly what you're talking about there. So on each level, there's a huge bunch of vertical cut marks.
Right. Yeah. And it's there you go. Some good shots. It's really interesting.
And that's what like machining that is done by cave like mining machines today, right? Like that's what this looks like. It gets diamond tip drills going through the rock, right? Like that's what would lead
they're all
this sort
pretty. They're all pretty uniform in the cuts. The way that
uniform.
they go down the line, and it's like they were running something across and then again in these parallel bands.
Yeah, like 100%. Oh, what's going on with the mason jars? Well, I put them up sometimes, so it's like, there we go. My face isn't covered by the comment. And what's actually going on in them is I do electrolysis experiments, making hydrogen, as well as ormus, monoatomics, and colloidal waters. But that's a story for another day. All right. I guess we're past the 2-hour mark here and getting into things. Zertis, you got any questions there? Still with us, good sir?
Yeah, sorry, I was just watching in the back. It's pretty interesting looking at the Chinese caves, and it is, I agree, like, I hope that they continue to exist. I know there have been recent propaganda movies from China that they want to, like, save their historical sites, but they mean they want to own them. They want the museum lifestyle where they continually refurbish them. They don't say anything or show anything that's not acceptable to the current people. And I could say, oh man, China, but that's the same thing that's going on here. So I really hope that this kind of work continues and that, Michael, we can go back. I want to go with you. The more data that we can preserve so that we have in case things change, then we can say, actually, this is the way it was like Thursday. This is the way it was in October. This is the way it was in 1987. Right. That'd be good because I think we're going to find this stuff changing a lot in the next generation.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's important to have some of this documented.
You made it to Easter Island? Like,
yeah. I was in Easter Island in September.
Let you finish your comment.
And Easter Island was incredible. Yeah, I was there in September. And there, so the megalithic wall in Easter Island that I filmed is at Ahu Vanapu is one that I think a lot of people would really find interesting because that's something that I don't think most people realize is that there's a megalithic wall on Easter Island. And I have a walkthrough video of that on my channel as well that you can watch, and fully documents the wall there. And it looks exactly like walls in Peru. And I did recently do a Twitter post comparing these walls around the world, specifically these filler stone blocks that you find in Egypt, in Peru, and Easter Island, and different places around the world, which is very interesting, these similarities and connections. It's just another piece of the puzzle showing a level of interconnectedness between these peoples around the world, in my opinion. And I do want to address that comment there. There was
absolutely.
I can't remember the guy's name. He's to gentleman that did oh man, he was just recently on like the Sean Ryan show or something, talking about there being a massive fire and that Easter Island's closed off and that all these statues and stuff got melted and that you can't go there. All of that is untrue.
Oh, Billy Carson made this claim.
Yes.
So Billy Carson's claims are complete BS, eh? Like,
they're completely false. I have no idea why he's saying that. He says there's no trees on the island. That is not true. There are large forests. We drove through them on ATVs. We drove all over the island. There's forests and trees everywhere. None of the statues have been damaged. There was a small fire on one part of the island that damaged, I think, minimally a few statues, none of which are at main sites. And you can go to Easter Island. I don't know why he's saying he's been trying to go for 10 years and that he can't get there. Anybody can go there. The only time that you couldn't go
I've been trying to go back for like 5 years and I can't make the time.
Right? Like, you've been there.
The only time that Easter Island's been closed in the last 10 years has been for a brief period during COVID.
Yeah, but even then you could, like, I remember thinking, like, I had a bunch of friends living in South America, and you could do anything if you were already there, you know, if you're down in South America. So
yeah, so for the longest time, the only way to get there was to fly down to Santiago in Chile, and there's direct flights from Santiago to Easter Island.
Yeah.
But they're even expanding now, and eventually, it looks like here pretty soon they'll be flying out of Lima in Peru, doing direct flights to.
But like you can go, like, it costs like $30 to fly from Lima to Santiago.
So they're actually
like
opening it up more as
it's more expensive to fly
location,
from Santiago to it's more expensive to fly from Santiago to Easter Island than it is to fly from Lima to Santiago. So like if you're in, so like a lot of Peruvians, they do and can't afford to go to Easter Island. It's pretty common for the locals to get to see Easter Island, and there's like a community that lives there. You know, there's surfing there. What's interesting is that they're finding more and more stuff because like there's an encouraged look into Easter Island from Chile because they want to prove, you know, basically it comes down to the naval presence of Chile. They want to prove that they have, you know, a reason to be there and to control it over Peru. So I think we will see, if anything, we're going to see more and better things coming out of Easter Island than China.
Yeah, and the only disappointing thing that I saw while I was at Easter Island was that they just got, when I was there in September, they had just gotten Starlink to the island about 6 months prior. So their access to the internet, we would go into town, and what we were told by our Airbnb host was the town in the evenings used to be very packed and lively.
Right.
We went in, they weren't as much so.
It's changed.
And they said that's because all the locals.
That's a bummer. It was pretty crazy.
They all have
like
access to Netflix now, and everybody's at home watching movies and stuff now that they have internet, which was kind of unfortunate. But I get it.
Also, like 2 years ago, there was that truck driver who crashed his little truck into the the Maui statue, one of the heads, right?
I haven't heard of that one. But
yeah, some dude, he had a truck and he crashed into one of the heads and destroyed it. It's really sad.
Yeah,
that's sad, but that's nowhere near the freaking lie that Billy, like, why would, that's crazy. And like, I'm stoked that you're actually here to be able to verify and correct that BS, because it's like, I remember Julia had like brought that up or something like about a month ago, and I like made a short out of it, and it was like a couple months ago. It was when we were on a Woo Woo Wednesday episode, and we had David Stig on. We're covering Easter Island. Yeah, she brought that up, and it like played a clip of Billy Carson being like, "They dropped jet fuel on it all. They burnt them all down. They're all destroyed."
Not true at all. And you know, the funny thing is, I tried to address that on the post that he made that I saw, and I can't remember what platform it was on, and comments were turned off, so I couldn't. But I did go to the video on YouTube and try to let everybody know, like, I was here in September. This is not true. None of these statues, all the statues are still here. Everything is fine. There's forests on the island. It's not, the island isn't closed off. You can go there. I don't know what the
and you're
intention
stating like that there's direct evidence that they're opening it up even more so for tourism, like they're
They're opening up
encouraging
even more
people to
so.
go.
Yep. They're growing and expanding. They have Starlink and internet now. I had service all over the island everywhere I went. And they are expanding their flights to include other entry points, destination points like Lima. Lima in Peru. I don't know when I don't think that's taken place yet, but it will soon. And then, none of the rest of what he said is factual. So I don't know where that was coming from. But you can go there if you want, and you should. It's an amazing place to
You
visit.
can get it if you really want.
Totally worth it.
Epic. Well, I appreciate this. Is there anything else that we should cover, you think? Bernie or Michael, any last locations you want to check out or see? This is great, though, this video.
Boom. This right
Boom.
here. I hopefully, I gotta start a GoFundMe to make this, and if not this year, next year, because too epic. And yeah, we got to do many more live streams together. And for all those that want to follow Michael, here are all of the Wandering Wolf links on screen now.
I appreciate that. What a blast. We covered an absolute range of topics. Thank you for having me on.
Okay, is my internet stopped buffering? Okay, I think I'm back. Yeah, Mike, it's amazing to have you. It's been long overdue. You're gonna definitely have to do this again sometime soon, and even more so, we're gonna have to make a plan to visit this site together right here, as well as this site there, and the Saskatchewan Mystery Walks. And actually, I guess I will quickly, if you got another 10 minutes, we can finish her off with the little teaser of Waterton Park, if you have seen that before.
I'm not familiar.
All right. Okay. This is also in the southern Alberta areas. This is the Rockies, and Waterton National Park is actually on the Montana border as well with Alberta. And right below that is Giants Playground and Sage Wall, which we're also going to have to make into one epic trip and annual tour that we're going to do. If not this year, definitely next year.
Well,
okay.
Sage Wall, I think, should be on everybody's list of site to visit. They just opened. I will say this: they just opened. You can go to sagemountain.org, and they just opened up reservations, so you can actually reserve a time slot for the year to come and visit. That's the only way to go. Is you have to reserve a spot there, but you can go to their website now. They're already taking reservations, which is great, and all their information is there on like costs and different stuff like that, because it is a private property, but they do open up their space to let people come on and visit, which is awesome.
Right, that's what it's all about, and more people that see it, witness it, and like witness the anomaly and put energy into it and resources into it, and actually doing archaeological work and digs on it and whatnot too, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a win-win.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think I finally found the folder. Okay, we got it. All right. So, but before I get to Red Rock, on the way to Waterton Park, which has Red Rock Canyon, not to be confused which is on the eastern side of southern Alberta Badlands, is Red Rock Coulee and the Medicine Hat Badlands, as well as the Cypress Hill megalithic sites with Saskatchewan mystery rocks. That's all to the east. And then to the west, or right in the middle, is this site, which is called Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump, which I believe actually looks more like a macro terraformed ancient pyramid structure. And you can see all sorts of what look like megalithic stone structures along it and several terraced layers potentially here. This is the entire structure of, or feature of, what is called Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump. It's a World Heritage Site famous for where the different plains natives, as well as the Kootenai tribes and mountain tribes, would all come together to herd the buffalo off the cliffs and harvest them. But what is super suspect of this place, not just all of the different layered terraces and giant megalithic looking rocks everywhere, is that the visitor center, which I'm trying to find a picture of, but bear with me, it will come up. Here we go. Is actually built into the mountain hillside structure feature, whatever it is, and in the state of an underground pyramid. So they built the museum as an underground pyramid building. And why would they do that? Or did they actually stumble upon something that was already there, renovate it, and hide what is actually could be giant pyramid with underground cave systems and lots of what looks like ancient megalithic rock layers? But that's just speculation on my behalf. Quite interesting spot. So this all under here is actually the Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump Museum, and it's built underground.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
was never familiar
this
with that
right
site.
here area is in between the two different Red Rock Coulee and Red Rock Canyon, and could all be part of the Southern Alberta Badlands tour package if you want to come join us in the next couple of years. Anywho, to Red Rock Canyon now, and Red Rock Canyon is just something else. And this is in Waterton Park, which is just west of what I just showed of Head Smashed Buffalo Jump, all along the number 3 highway, and the Writing on Stone Badlands is also just east of Waterton Park along the border, but this is Red Rock Canyon in Waterton Park, and it is truly an epic spot. That it's an entire red rock and white quartz mountain and I guess creek canyon up the mountain in the northern portion of Waterton Park. My apologies for the buffering as the pictures load here, trying to get through. And it's just gorgeous, like the different steps, and it all it honestly gives a feel of like portions of it kind of artificial. It's crazy because it's just like water pool. It seems like a giant ancient water park, really. It's quite wild. And the white quartz bands, how they go throughout it, it's weird. They snake through, and they seem to be depictions of snakes at points as well. Very tranquil spot, but I'm going to have. Sorry, we will close that so we don't have to scroll through 2,000 pictures before I get to the second half of Waterton Park. That is the more relevant part of it all. Sorry, here we go. And there's, like I said, so Waterton Lake is on the Canadian-U.S. border, and the national park also obviously on the border, borders the U.S. And here we go. Finally able to load the mountains. It is awe-inspiring, and it resembles a lot of Giant's Playground and in Montana, just across the border, and that it seems like potential macro terraformed construction in certain areas, or built by giants or inhabited by giants. I don't know, but there is a area that I do not have pictures of. I didn't visit on this initial trip, but I would like to do, and it has to be done as an expedition of more than just a few because it is sketchy as F. But there is a place called Cripps Lake, and it's a mountain pass lake, and I believe it is directly on the U.S.-Canadian border, and you have to take a ferry from Waterton town right here on the edge of the northern end of Waterton Lake to this island or the beachfront, whatever it is, of the base of the mountain of Cripps Lake. But then in this lake, the pictures that I've seen of it, there's literally what appears to be a giant megalithic stone like crypt in the middle of the lake that needs to be scuba dived and excavated, and very, very fascinating sight. But as we go through some of the pictures here of Waterton, it's all in the exact same area. It's all within, every site here is within, I believe, 120 kilometers. And then the furthest away would be the Saskatchewan Mystery Rocks, which would be double and a half that distance from Waterton here. And that it looks kind of pyramidal, but it looks very, very anomalous, these sites. But
Interesting.
I don't know. Just speculation. It's beautiful. It's fascinating, and it's well worth visiting.
Yeah,
right in
the
the
land
center of town is Waterton.
Sure, beautiful.
Oh man, so many pictures. My apologies. Trying to get to that right there, the main Waterton waterfall in Waterton town. Very beautiful. The Ram's butt. The ram almost rammed us at the waterfall, but instead it just took off and showed us its butt. And that's enough of that. We will end it off. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been a pleasure, my friends.
It was good to finally connect, man.
For sure. And we will have to do this again very soon. And if you want to get into like the podcasting and need help with like co-hosting or learning StreamYard, stuff like that, happily help. And, you know, more people we connect, the merrier. And we will be in touch, you know. Hope. Exactly, right. And I'm gonna have to learn some editing tips from you, and you know, if I learn some on my own, I'll share them with you, right?
Definitely not the expert.
Right, none of us, but that's what it's about, just learning as we go, and right, just applying it, right? And for anyone that wants to join Mike right here, October 12th to 19th, a full week in Peru.
Gonna be a great trip. See some people there.
But I will be with you in spirit. Well, not just spirit, digitally, because you're going to live stream part of it. We're going to do it together. And I'm hold you to that.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for multi-streaming, and best of luck on your adventures, sir. And look forward to the next one.
All right, brother. Take care.
That's
You crazy mother. Yeah.
It's just burning.